pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Miss Angela, if you want to do roll call, please.
Chair Whites.
Here.
Vice Chair James. Member Ambrose.
Here.
Member Jones.
Here.
Member Williams is absent.
I will. We should need a motion for the approval of the agenda, please.
I move we approve the agenda with the removal of approval of minutes, since there are none to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed, since everybody said yes. All right, the first order of business, item number 1, discuss, consider, and act on GAI presentation of CRA expansion.
Hello, CRA Board. So we have Tom Kohler here with GAI and Hannah, who's worked extensively on the CRA expansion finding of necessity, and they have a presentation to give you on their findings and recommendations moving forward.
Madam Chairman, good evening. Glad to be back. Just a quick overview. As you recall, when we completed the strategic action plan for the CRA, one of the recommendations at that point was to explore the opportunity for expanding the CRA to some of the other areas that needed some TLC attention. And so we've followed the Chapter 163 procedure to inventory and look at all of the properties within that area that the staff had asked us to look at. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Hannah. Hannah and I walked this entire area, but she's the author of the document. And so I'd like her to make the presentation to you, and then we can answer any questions you may have.
Good afternoon. Will I be moving it or? Okay, great. So I'm here to go over the finding of necessity findings with you all. I will go over the project overview as well as the expanded area site, what we assessed while on site, as well as our conclusions of the finding of necessity. So this map is showing the CRA along with the expansion area. The existing CRA boundary goes up to US Highway 441 at the north, as I'm sure you're aware, to the east at 239th Street, to the west, 239th Street, to the east at 234th Street, and to the south at 184th Place. The expansion area would be expanding that to the north at northwest 187th Ave, to the west at northwest 246th Street, to the south at northwest 184th Place, and the other southern area would be at the existing abandoned railroad tracks railway. So why do we want to do this? Expanding the CRA boundary would help attract investment, identify new funding sources, as well as improve the conditions of the existing infrastructure, commercial and residential uses, and overall physical appearance of the area. The finding of necessity was conducted in order to justify this expansion under Chapter 163, Part 3 of the Florida statutes to figure out if there's slum and blight in existence in this area. So what exactly is slum and blight? It can include endangering life or property by fire and other causes, deteriorating structures, defective or inadequate street layouts, faulty lots, unsanitary conditions, deterioration of sites, or tax delinquency exceeding the fair value of the land. as well as if there's residential vacancies in higher rates than the rest of the city, so a lot of abandoned properties or vacant properties, and so on, incidents of crime, etc. So just looking at the area as a whole, with the expanded area matched up with the existing CRA, you can see that the expansion area would add 87 parcels, 58 acres, and 52 of those acres are platted. And then here you can see, as well as the report that I believe is in front of you, out of these acres, you can see the single-family residential as well as the commercial areas are what would bring the most taxable value if they were improved. So first, Tom and I visited High Springs and did a windshield survey back in July of 2022. A windshield survey is basically driving around and walking around to see the current conditions, take photos, take notes. We were looking specifically for dilapidated structures, not safe for occupation. Things like roof holes, leaks, if windows were boarded up, fallen fences, things like that, as well as deteriorated property. So if people aren't mowing their lawns, upkeeping their property, if there's trash accumulation on the property, things like that. So here's some of our results. I'll go through a series of specific locations throughout the expansion area specifically, and what was observed in these locations. So here, 1 through 6, you can see in the highlighted areas that we found some trash accumulation, unpaved intersections that could be unsafe for drivers and pedestrians, code violations such as improper outdoor storage, lack of curb and gutter for stormwater, neglect of landscaping. Moving forward to 7 through 12, some more trash accumulation, another unpaved intersection. You can see in number 12, as I'm sure you may be familiar with, that was, I believe, an old law firm that is very dilapidated, trash accumulation. Even the crosswalk is blocked by trash accumulation, so even pedestrians have to go into the right-of-way in order to continue on the sidewalk. Moving on to 13 through 15, some more neglect of landscaping and vacant lots, damaged right-of-ways, and some more trash accumulation. And then another very notable site, number 16. It was, I believe, an old strip of commercial properties that are no longer occupied. Lots of trash. The roofs had caved in. Some even have no roof and plants growing inside now. So not very safe. And then number 17, the old peanut mill. That is no longer in existence and has a lot of asbestos as well as health hazards, boarded up windows, all of that meets the criteria of slum and blight in the area. So our findings, as I just mentioned, dilapidated structures, deteriorated property, unsanitary, unsafe conditions, boarded up windows, abandoned properties, property neglect, maintenance needs to prevent these hazardous conditions, trash accumulation, and an abundance of vacant lots that usually accompanied the same aspects. And then as well as transportation, road, and traffic findings. So much of the area besides the main thoroughfare that goes through has a lack of curb and gutter, sidewalks, and bike lanes for safe pedestrian and multimodal modes of transportation. or defective and inadequate street layout, and just need for street improvements such as markings at the stop signs, the street lining, things like that. So our conclusions from this study: fieldwork and data analysis indicates that the proposed expanded area meets at least 3 of the required criteria to be considered slum and blight under Chapter 163 in the Florida statutes. Only 2 of these are required in order to be designated eligible for a CRA expansion. So those 3 were the predominance of defective or inadequate street layout, parking facilities, roadways, bridges, or public transportation facilities, which is the definition of blight, or condition of blight. The second one was the deterioration of site or other improvements. And the third, unsanitary or unsafe conditions. And these are specifically listed in Chapter 163 as specific criteria that could define blight. And that is my presentation. The information summarized in this accompanied report that you have in front of you acknowledges the existing conditions and adopting the requisite resolution declaring the need for the rehabilitation, redevelopment, and conservation of the expanded CRA redevelopment area in the interest of the public health, safety, and welfare. Thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't have any questions. I think you did a really thorough job, and I think this is the kind of information that county's going to be looking for to justify their decision to support this expansion. I think by moving now, you know, it'll be a good thing for the city that we'll have some extra resources to be paying more attention to that part of our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. As usual, GAI does a good job in presenting information that we need. Thank you.
Thank you.
The layout of this presentation is excellent, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much.
Really, really nice job. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
She gets 100% of the credit.
She did a very nice job.
Yeah, it is one of the nicer presentations.
It's beautiful.
Oh,
It was
thank you.
easy to follow.
Thanks.
Color choices, everything was great. So then I guess we need a motion to approve.
I make a motion, we approve the presentation for the CRA expansion.
Second.
So then our next official action is we take this to the county, is that correct?
Yes, we would take it to the county, and then we would, preliminary discussions with the county manager and assistant county manager. We're not sure if they would approve, putting their money into it or not, but there's high likelihood that they would at least approve the expansion, which is needed regardless if they put their money in or not, so that we can, do our grants and other things in that area as well with CRA money. But the hope would be that with the report so well done, that they would consider putting their funds in it as well as they have for the rest of the CRA district.
What justification would they have to not?
Well, because they just don't want to lose any money from their budget, and what they do for one, they have to do for all. So they don't have to, but there would be a higher likelihood that other entities would do expansions and want some of their money, additional money for their districts as well if they expanded. So
Well, I think this report shows really good justification, so
I agree.
if this can't sell it to them,
Yeah.
there's not much we could do.
Oh, we're going to try, it has to go to the commission as well, right, Tom? Before it goes to the county.
Excuse me if I may. The process is, you have an interesting dynamic with Alachua County. They were very receptive to the strategic action plan. Now, I understand there is always a reluctance on the part of the county to contribute to their proportionate share to the trust fund. I think there probably is an element of negotiation with them. Instead of getting 95% that would go, you could probably say, hey, this is really important, but we're willing to work with you, and you could negotiate down that 95% so that you get some portion of that. Once they accept the expansion of it, it comes back to you as a CRA and the city council to authorize the amendment to the plan. And then the plan has to be amended, and we'll use this strategic action plan as basically the new plan. Then you would adopt that, and that would then become the new document. The last official plan you had was 1991, I believe, or 93. That's in essence the document. So right now, I think you've got some good vibes from the county based on your staff's working with them the last couple of years. So anyway, that's my perspective on that.
So we're voting to approve to move it to the county at this point? Okay,
Yes, basically.
understood. Is this a roll call vote, Angela, or is it? Oh, I'm sorry, does anybody from the public have any questions or comments?
Is there anything, I represent an investment group, let's just put it at that for now. I'm Ron Hemingway, and I'm a large landowner here in High Springs. And I represent an investment group, as I said, and I'm wondering if there's anything that we could do as far as bringing to the table to help the city in getting that extra funding from Alachua County. I mean, we have plans right now that we're working on. I'm personally helping assist and work on that. Basically everything that you touched on, we want to help change. And we want to work with the city, whatever we can do to bring that to fruition, that would be great. So, I don't know. What could we possibly do? I mean, I know one of the areas that we've spoken about in our group is about utilizing TIF, the tax financial stuff and incentives. I don't know. I know there's been some notification, or there's been some noting on it in some of your documentation that talk about this. I don't know what exactly it means. I'm not the finance guy. I just tried to text him in New York, try to get his attention, see, I don't know if you're watching this or not, but if he chimed in on it, I know he knows an immense amount of information about how to facilitate that particular program. And he owns a very large financial firm in New York that is completely self-funded. And we represent international clientele, by the way.
Ashley, is that something, he's probably busy watching the Yankees right now, so he might not get back to you?
Yeah.
That I don't know.
So, you mentioned the TIF and some other things. I mean, definitely you want to learn more about your projects you want to do in High Springs, and then staff will work with you to look at the TIF and any planning elements and everything that go along with it. I mean, any help we can get to redevelop downtown, we want, but we need to explore what those best options are. But yes, we want private-public partnerships. It's in our strategic plan.
Okay. I think the one thing that I would note on that we're very aware of, because I do own land that's adjacent to the abandoned railroad, is we are very actively and aggressively, I know I'm the one that's doing it, trying to find out. CSX does not own that railroad any longer. From the best of my home right now, it's probably a group of 3, possibly 4 lawyers from CSX are the primary property owners for all that. And we want to do the rails to trails because we are a very environmentally friendly group. I mean, that's why they actually approached me, and I became a member, and I actually own a big chunk of land, and that's what they wanted, is I have a big section of land that has huge trees on it. And we are looking to do that. But we want to get the rails to trails all the way down to Post Springs, all the way into downtown, and wrap around. And I've actually mentioned the other day, we have this big frontage out here in the front, right here, right by where the brewery is, all of that going down to the peanut factory. That would be an amazing park. And the peanut factory is in on that mix, just so you know. I probably shouldn't give it away, but we're very interested in helping redevelop. I live in High Springs. I would love nothing more to see it become a very beautiful area. People from all over the world come here now. Let's bring more, increase and decrease what you just identified. And again, I don't know. The only other thing that I had was, I know on the one, I noticed that you did have peanut factory on there, and I did see that asbestos sign when I looked at this report yesterday evening when I was reviewing it. And I don't know if I'm sure there's probably some funding or something to help with that.
There's mitigation funding.
Perfect. I kind of figured there was. I mean, it's not my first rodeo, but it's definitely something that, anytime you hear asbestos, my red flags go right up. But like I said, I'm Ron Hemingway. I actually represent Hemingway Estates, is the name of its LLC. And that's who I'm here to represent, is our group. And we are international. These are international developers coming here just because of me. So
I appreciate
anything
that.
we can do, and Ashley has my name and number and stuff, so
Okay.
we'll meet later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we know if the asbestos over there is friable? Do we know what kind?
We don't know, we didn't go into the building.
Okay.
But because it had the asbestos
Yeah,
warning sign
Right.
outside, was enough
okay, thank you.
for us.
Anybody else with questions or comments? Okay. Angela, is this roll call or is this, no? All right, so we've got a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion carries 3-0. All right, the second item of new business, discuss, consider, and act on facilities master plan.
Okay, so in your packet is a proposed facilities plan from GAI, and this was something that was included in the strategic plan as well, determining the use of our future facilities and what that looks like. As y'all know, we're running out of space in a number of facilities, and staff is becoming more challenging on where to put people that we hire. So basically this facilities plan, GAI would do an assessment of existing buildings, the programming that's in the buildings, the departments, and, what they're being used for, and, what our projected future uses are and our projected future staffing levels over the next 20 years. So we will grow over the next 20 years, and so that we can accommodate all the needs of the city. It's not just for employees, it's also to make spaces for the people that come in and to make things kind of flow and work a little better. They would look at not just measuring the buildings and stuff, but they would look at the circulation of the buildings, where things are located. Just as an example, in City Hall, the locations of the bathrooms aren't ideal. People have to walk through city offices to get to the bathrooms. And so what changes can be made in the future? The goal being that we don't spend good money after bad, that staff who isn't just sitting here going, oh, let's do this and oh, let's do that, that we actually have some method to the madness before we start spending money. So they would look at all city facilities and the space needs, and they would also master plan the civic campus, which is like the old school City Hall, the park. There is a site plan that was put in the strategic plan, but that was kind of a preliminary concept plan. It wasn't something that came before y'all for like approval of the site plan in particular. It needs more, at least a lot more looking at it, a lot more discussion with staff and hashing it out, and to determine, what goes where and how the road network would be in the future, so that as we grow and have needs, that we have planned adequately. And also we would look at who uses the facilities and what they're intended for as well. So I think it's very timely having the Parks Master Plan plus the Facilities Plan run at the same time, so we can have kind of piggyback on some of the discussions for both facilities. And it's $30,000, which is a very reasonable price for someone to do this amount and level of work.
And excuse me, the CRA would pay for that?
Yes, because it would be within the CRA district. There would
Right.
be some on the Parks Master Plan side, because they kind of, the facility some of that will be some overlap discussion. That will be whole city, but this facilities plan will be just the stuff in the CRA, just the buildings in the CRA district. Anything that needs to be discussed that could be outside the CRA district, it would be kind of more just look at this outside the CRA district, because since we're using CRA funds, we have to keep it. But almost all of our facilities, except the wastewater treatment plant, are within the district.
Okay. I forgot my question. Thank you.
Chair. So that would include like Public Works and the area under the water tower and how they're using that and everything else as well, because that's in this area.
It would trip. I mean, it would be difficult not to include discussions of what's outside the district, because you could be bringing some of those facilities inside the district. So you can't say you're not going to talk about anything outside the district, but the focus will be on the buildings inside the district. But yes, it would include the CRA building. It would include the Public Works behind the old school city hall, what's underneath the water. Yeah, police, fire. Like most of all our main cities are in the district.
Okay, and even though we're focusing on the CRA, like the Bridlewood expansion has land for a fire department, supposedly. So that would be calculated into whatever we do. Okay.
Yeah, that's like that. There is too difficult to say, oh, we can't talk about this. It's only not in the CRA. The focus would be on the planning and design of the specific facilities in the CRA, but you can't not discuss anything outside the CRA because it goes together.
For completion?
What do y'all think you can complete it in? We did 12 months for the Parks Master Plan.
I think we can do this in 3 months, but that was. I'm sorry. I always say 3 months, but once you get to Halloween, that gets out, because November, December, it just becomes so. From this day forward, I'd say probably 4 months. Yeah, but most of our work is going to be in-house. We're going to be dealing with your staff, so that we really want to know what they need and use, and from their professional skill level, whether it's the fire department or the public works department or the police department, what they are seeing in their particular profession as to the utility of their facilities, where they're short. Now, internally, the same thing. The functionality of this space, I mean, you've got a planner that's sitting out in the hall monitoring the people going back and forth to the restrooms, which is kind of interesting. And then, how functional is your ground floor space? So it may very well be reallocating interior space as well. The other thing is we want to do is also recognize the different ways utilities are used. What is, are we going to accommodate solar or some other kind of support systems, the technology that's going on, and how that gets wired into all of these facilities. So it's not just the physical thing, it's also the best way to operate your various departments.
And likewise, we would even touch on the pavilion and the use of the pavilion and the condition of the buildings as well. There's some, we have a number of nonprofits and a number of buildings. And from what I understand, some of those buildings aren't structurally sound. So we would have to, well, they're structurally sound, but they're heading in a bad direction because they wouldn't be in there if they weren't structurally sound. But we don't start taking care of them. So it would also involve, a prioritization list. So we're making sure to take care of our assets.
Is it typical to do this lump sum?
Typically, we are not just paying them $30,000 before they start. As they
No, I
do
understand
case-
that. I mean, there
yes.
would be, I understand, I see the terms for 30 days, but I'm just used to seeing time and materials.
This is a construction project,
Right.
so
No materials, so just time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, normally it's like, there's a, I think in here, it might have been $750 or $1,000, like for
$750.
travel, back and forth and stuff, and then if they need any more, then they have to come and ask
Right, I
me
saw
for
that.
approval.
And in Exhibit A and Exhibit B, we don't actually have anything included, we just have pages.
Excuse me, but we have a continuing services contract with you, and
Okay.
all of those are in that
Gotcha.
master document.
Okay,
We didn't
okay.
want to put another 10 pages or 5 pages.
Understood.
On that one, so. And
Thank you.
that does have our hourly rates and everything in there.
Okay, thank you.
And they've always come within budget for their other projects.
Thank you, Jenny. Any other questions, comments? Well, we need to ask the audience first, if they have any questions. Oh, we need a motion, yes. I'll take, yeah, yeah.
I move we go ahead and approve the funding for the facilities master plan.
Second.
Anybody from the audience with questions or comments? All right, we've got a motion and a second. No public comment. This is not roll call either, Angela? Okay. All those in favor of moving forward, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. All right. Chair report. Thomas, thank you, sir, for the new landscaping that's coming. I've heard a lot of positive feedback. People are excited to see what's coming. And I know everybody's looking forward to the Fall Festival on Saturday. That's all I've got. Ashley, I assume you're Bruce tonight.
I do. So the one thing that I wanted to mention is the billboard is up for renewal, and staff was planning to just continue to renew it and look back at the design one more time to see if we want to maintain that design. Dave has more information on the billboard than I do, but we've gotten really positive responses, and it's well located, and it's nice to be driving up into High Springs and see something with our name on it. That's
I thought we renewed that a couple of meetings ago, and we went back to the TDC and dipped into their matching funds for another year. Is
Dave,
my
can you talk
recollection
to
wrong
that?
on that?
Hi, my name's David Sutton. It's been a year. The last time I came before you, we got a year. They gave us such a great rate. We did a year lease on the sign, and now it's up, and they're holding it for us. And I think Ashley's going to go ahead with it. It's up near White Springs. Mile marker 340 in a very open location. You've seen pictures of it. It has the marketing, tourism, promotional website on it as well. Like Ashley said, I think she and Kevin, who does a great job with design, can go back and see if any changes need to be made to it. But it's been a year since we discussed it. And I've got to call in to not Jessica Huroff, but there's another lady, and I can't recall her name now, to see if there is any available funding left. I know when they started this program a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, I think, Ross, you might recall, there was like $300,000 allocated for this billboard grant program, and very few people were taking advantage of it. And when the program ended, they had so much money left, they extended it. That's how we were able to get another year out of this. So I don't know if there's any funding left in the program, but at this time, the rates become so affordable, it's worth keeping at this time to not lose it.
Do we have any announcements? Guessing not. Any public comments? Anybody have anything else? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are.